Okay, my friends, we're on slide 9 now, and it says decide and defend. Here's the graph of the solutions of the absolute value of 6x plus 3 is less than or equal to 15. And we're wondering which of these inequalities describes this graph. So let's look at our solutions, right? There is a solution where it can be equal to -3 or bigger, right? It can be bigger or equal to -3. But there's also this part of the graph where it could be equal to 2 or less than 2. And what we're looking for is that middle spot in between, where we want our x values to be greater than or equal to -3 and less than or equal to 2. So the word "and" means that the solutions are going to be in the region between -3 and 2. So let's just write that down. The solutions will be between -3 and 2. If it was "or," it would be going opposite directions. So when we're looking at "and," that's when we see that little segment piece of overlap, and we can tell what our boundary points are between -3 and 2. There's 2 stipulations here. It has to be bigger than -3, and it also has to be smaller than 2. Beautiful. Go ahead to slide 10 when you're ready. 1 will have no match. Am I missing some? Where are they all? Hold on. Oh, okay. There we go. I gotta zoom out. Okay, so we got, here's these, and here's what we're going to be matching. So let's take a look at the first one, which says the absolute value of 4x plus 2 is greater than 6. So when we're doing this, what this means is that the absolute value, 4x plus 2, is going to be greater than 6, or the second option is greater than -6, right? So when we figure this out, when we start to solve, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides, and then we get 4x is greater than 4. 6 minus 2 is 4. And then divide both sides by 4 to get x is greater than 1. So there's part of our solution. On the other side, we have 4x plus 2 is greater than -6. So this is our second inequality. And when we subtract 2 over here, we get 4x is greater than -8. -6 minus 2 is -8. Divide both sides by 4 to get x is greater than -2. So we have x greater than -2, and we also have x greater than 1. Let me see, hold on. I messed something up here. Let's take a look. My apologies. Okay, I put this negative. When I set up our second inequality, I did the negative in the wrong spot. So when we're writing our second one, we make this all negative and then keep it as greater than 6. So now at this point, we're going to distribute that negative sign to get -4x minus 2 is greater than 6. Then we're going to add 2 to both sides. And we have -4x is greater than 8. 6 plus 2 is 8. And then our last step is to divide by -4. And when we do that, we have to flip the symbol because we're dividing by a negative. So we get x is less than -2. So here's our option. X is either bigger than 1 or less than -2. So if you think about it on a graph, here's -2, here's 0, here's 1. Our options, right, are greater than 1 or smaller than negative 2. So we're going to have that or symbol, which is less than negative 2, greater than 1. That one. Beautiful. Let's look at our green option here. And I'm going to clear my board just so it doesn't get too confusing. So now we're looking at green. So we have 4x plus 2 is less than 6. And then negative 4x plus 2 is less than 6. On the right, we'll subtract 2 on both sides. 6 minus 2 gets us 4. So we have 4x is less than 4. Divide both sides by 4 to get x is less than 1. There's our first option. On the other side, we're going to distribute that negative first. So we get negative 4x minus 2 is less than 6. Add 2 to both sides to get negative 4x is less than 8. When you divide by a negative 4, we're going to flip the symbol. 8 divided by negative 4 is negative 2. So we have, for green, x is less than 1. So here's negative 2, and here's 1. So it's smaller than 1, and it's also bigger than negative 2. So we're in between the two values here. So this is an example of and, right? It has to be bigger than negative 2, but less than 1. So we have less than 1 and bigger than negative 2 right here. Perfect. Okay. Clear the board. And here's our final one where we have 4x minus 2 is less than 6. And then we do the same thing, but we write it as a negative 4x minus 2 is less than 6. Let's solve our first inequality by adding 2 to both sides to get 4x is less than 8. And divide by 4 to get x is less than 2. On the right side, when we distribute that negative, we get negative 4x plus 2 is less than 6. Subtract 2 on both sides to get negative 4x is less than 4. Divide both sides by negative 4. Flip the sign and get negative 1. So for this one, it's bigger than negative 1, but it's smaller than 2. So we're looking at this zone here, which means we're going to think about and. Beautiful. And then there's one that does not match. So make sure that you have all of those matched and all set, and then push ahead to slide 11. On slide 11, you're doing the synthesis, so I want you to think about a strategy that you would use to solve this. How would you solve this problem? How would you walk someone through that? Put the steps, put the important informations, and pause the video if you need to so you can really focus on working through explaining how you would solve that. And then when you're all set, move ahead to slide 12. What are the solutions to the absolute value of 2x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 11? Use the sketch tool to help with your thinking. Okay. So we have to write our two inequalities. So our first one is 2x minus 3 greater than or equal to 11. And for the second one, we just put a negative on the outside that we're going to distribute and keep everything else the same. So in our first inequality, if we add 3 to both sides, we get 2x is greater than or equal to 14. Divide everything by 2 to get x is greater than or equal to 7. On the right, if we distribute that negative, we get a negative 2x plus 3, just changes the signs, is greater than or equal to 11. Subtract 3 to get negative 2x is greater than or equal to 8. 11 minus 3 is 8. Divide by negative 2, so we're going to flip the symbol, and 8 divided by negative 2 is a negative 4. So it has to be bigger than 7 or less than negative 4. So this is going to be an or, because if we draw these two graphs, greater than or equal to 7 is going to be a closed circle on 7 shaded to the right. less than or equal to -4 is a closed circle on -4, shaded to the left. So we see it going in different directions. So we have x is less than or equal to -4, or x is greater than or equal to 7 as option D. The last slide here is slide 13, thinking about how you feel about this lesson. Do a little reflection there. If you need any support for this lesson, please reach out to me. Let me know how I can help you. Otherwise, I'll see you in the lesson 12 practice video tomorrow. Bye, everyone. Take care.